Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earl, and here are today's topics. It's a new low for Man City under Pep Guardiola as the champions lose their fifth consecutive match in all competitions after a 4-0 defeat to Tottenham. Mo Salah leads Liverpool to a nervy second-half comeback win at Southampton, pushing the Reds 8 points clear at the top of the table. Ruben Amorim makes his debut as Manchester United manager, but a lot of work is left to be done following a 1-1 draw at Ipswich Town, and Chelsea roll through Leicester with a 2-1 win at the King Power, leading the Foxes to sack manager Steve Cooper after 12 league games in charge. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode.
Okay, my friend, nice weekend off for you. Plenty of great football games to watch. I think we have to start the Etihad, mate, in one of the surprise scorelines of the season, or maybe not surprised if you take the form that Manchester City were in. But news of Pep Guardiola signing a 2-year contract. I think I thought that things weren't going well. Now they'll start to pick up. And then Spurs come into town and put 4 past Manchester City. What were your takeaways from the game? What's your over? Where are you with City, Pep, and the pursuit of a 5th straight title?
Well, it's remarkable given the situation they're in right now and the way that we're talking, Rob, and the way that they are looking. Remember, start of the season, they won the first 4 games, looked absolutely immaculate. You know, nobody else had won 4 games. They top of the tree at the start, and we're all saying things like, "Here we go again. Who can match them?" That's how things change in football, Rob. And you know, injuries to key players, more injuries that City have ever had, really under Pep, because it's something I've said many times that I've watched for. They've had a couple of important players over the last couple of seasons, of course, Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, but never as many as 4 or 5 or 6, which they've got right now. Yeah. This was still stunning, though. Still stunning. Still, I was kind of shocked. I know the midfield was changed again with Kovacic being out. Now, you take Rodri out of it, the Ballon d'Or was before the game, which was fun to see, and Kovacic, who's got a bit more of a slightly defensive mindset, and you put in there Foden, Lewis, Silva, and Gundogan. Yeah. I've never seen. I mean, they were so wide open in that midfield. There was nobody in there, Rob, and it ended up being a basketball game, one end to the other end, which in this circumstance happened to suit Spurs. And it's a stunning result. I mean, it's just a remarkable kind of scoreline that we thought could be a bit of a funny game for City in the way that Spurs play. But I don't think anybody saw 4-0 happening. And a lot of credit to Spurs, Rob, but more worrying times for Man City. Do you see anything different in that from City?
I think, like you say, I point to something I think we spoke about a couple of times on the poddy, Rob. I talked to, and I think every goal you can go back and look, basically Manchester City turned the ball over, gave the ball away, gave away cheap possession. Now, what Pep has with his team is predicated by taking high positions, the Silvers and the Gundowans and the Lewises and the Savinhos, high up on the pitch, pinning the opposition back, keeping possession and working it through, Rob. What we've never seen with City is the amount of turnovers we've seen. I can't remember them losing the ball so easily, so often. And then the moment when they lose the ball, obviously 5, 6, sometimes 7 players are ahead of it. They can't get back. So the amount of all the goals were coupled through the ball being turned over, which is something we don't see in a City team. The other thing, Rob, for me, that stood out was there was a bit of, and it's hard to describe, and you'll know as a player sometimes, that when you're on top of your game, when things are going well, if somebody makes a run, you follow them, you run. Sometimes you know they might not be able to get in the ball, but you continue to do all that work that you've got to do. I feel as though Manchester City, and I picked out Kyle Walker, who's an outstanding athlete. On a few occasions, the first goal, I thought he could have got maybe round on the cover more to stop Maddison. The goal, I think the 4th goal, Timo Werner takes him on the outside. Kyle Walker's a magnificent athlete. Great pace, great power. Does a brilliant job for Manchester City. It's as though in his head, Rob, he's a second off. He's thinking about things. He's not reacting. His body's not quite in that right space. Gundogan was similar, Rob. People were running off him. I could see Gundogan a number of times pointing to people saying, "Can you,
goal.
The first goal, point, can you get back?" So when that collective, Rob, and you know what it's like when you played, and that's happening through a team, you're just off. You're just not at it. You're just not closing. You're just not, Guardiola with the cross from Kulusevski for the run for Madison, not tight enough to block it. Little bits of detail, Rob, that come in because of what you're saying, because it's just not there. Quality players are missing. I think there's a little bit of mental fatigue rather than maybe physical fatigue. And there's a little bit of hunger that's not quite as it was.
Well, this is funny, Rob, isn't it? Because, last year I think I predicted somebody else to win the title because I sort of thought that City couldn't keep grinding out these amazing kind of performances and a huge level, with tremendous work ethic, with great results, and from winning from losing positions and from positions in the league table where they're so many points behind. Yeah. Do they look to, mentally? Yeah. Are they finally wilting? I know there's a lot been talk this weekend about the age of the team. Are they finally wilting, Rob? And I think, this is the season when they just can't. It doesn't look like they can keep it going. Well, on the back of, by the way, key players being out, of course, which is critical. Yeah. Rodri is absolutely critical. Best player in the world. And other players
Kevin
off.
De Bruyne not
Kevin De
playing
Bruyne
regular.
Haaland was a little off. Yeah. Haaland was a little off. Didn't score the opportunities that he's had. We've seen him score those. He didn't. And is it all equal to, and not tracking that run and just, I think. No, I'm not. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. Now, the big question, Rob, is, and I'll throw it right back to you, is this a short-term exhausted blip and they'll regroup, or is it the beginning of the end of this squad, this group's dominance and ability to keep going and performing? That for me is the one, and that is the crux of this. Can they recover when they get people back and they get their mojo back, or is this season going to struggle to really get going, and then that would spark, if it continues to the end of the season, Rob, and they kind of finish second, third or fourth, then are we talking a rebuild situation? Which of those two, blip or start of the end of this kind of
right now squad? Where we are, I would have to say blip, but could bleed into the other thing. Now, the manager's just said he signed for another 2 years. Is that 2 years going to be part of the rebuild? I don't think the aging out, listen, we know it's an aging team. When these players are fit and back together, there is no worry. My concern with where they are now, Rob, is when they found themselves in a hole in the past, and they've kind of been at this space. We did some stats today. I think they've been 8 points behind at this stage of the season before and won it. Yeah. But those are teams who've gone 10, 12, 14 games, winning unbeaten on incredible runs. What I sense with this group is, Rob, I'm not sure that they can do that same thing just off the evidence of the first 12 games. Let me give you a slight analogy, and it's an interesting one because it's current. In that Mike Tyson, in his heyday, was beating people before they went in the ring. You used to look at Mike Tyson, people were like, get the first knock, and they were down. And there was a fear factor about Mike Tyson and what he brought to the ring. Manchester City losing 5 games, 3 of them in the Premier League, allows people to look at Manchester City and approach Manchester City in a different way. Now, everybody's always been fearful of possession, fearful of the, there's been a blueprint over 3 games, if it's, I know it's only a small sample size, to say there is a way you can beat City. And I think that could affect the rest of the season, where other people don't quite go into the game thinking, look, we'll take a 2-0 defeat against City and just get out of here. People might start thinking they can take a point here. And that mentality might have an effect on the points scored for Manchester City at the end of the season. Yeah,
there's a lot of value in that, Rob. I get that. I still think like that they're absolutely capable of going on a run. Correct. I do. It's just a matter of when they can get all their pieces back together again. Yeah. And the one piece is what I will finish this kind of thought of they won't do it this year is because of the guy that got the trophy at the start of the season. They can absolutely go on a run, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can.
Of course they can. I've got them down as my favourites and they still stay as my favourites.
Do they?
They still stay as my favourites right now.
Yeah. So it's just the Rodri factor. And as you said earlier on, Rob, it's not just his defensive side. It's the way he keeps the ball. Yeah. He has a cleverness about his, and they're just not keeping the ball for long periods of time. So I think I think that there will be, steadily rebuilding now. You
Yeah.
I just look at the teams here. Rob John Stones is struggling to be fit, is kind of reaching that age. Kyle Walker is over 30 years of age. Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. There's young players at the club. I mean, they're not all old players.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make some signings in January. I think summer could be a rebuilding period of time. I just don't think, as I didn't at the start of the season, they've got it in them to grind away and on those different competitions and to find a way. They're behind now, and I think I said a couple of weeks ago, Rob, on the pod, how big's the gap going to be before they get their stuff together? Because they will get it together.
And the other teams have to make hey, sun shines and get that gap as big as they can. I can already hear the Spurs fans, Rob, saying we've gone 10 minutes in and we've not mentioned them, and we should do. Because Ange Postecoglou deserves a lot of credit. His team have just come off the international break, losing to Ipswich, which was probably poor performance and day as he's had. He set his team up well, Rob. I thought they were organised in what they were doing, got an extra man in midfield, played Maddison, which I didn't think he would have done in a game that way. You would expect City to have more possession. Thought the fullbacks did a better job. I didn't think they went as high as early to give the team a little bit more of a compact shape. I thought the wide players, Kulusevski, I thought was outstanding. Gave all kinds of problems to Guardiola and Son, the same with Walker. Thought they were excellently set up. Maddison deserved a lot of credit, Rob. People are always talking about on big days he doesn't turn up. Certainly turned up today, was the best midfield player on show. And it's a great sort of feather in the cap for Ange that, at times I've said I wish he would just tweak it a little bit. I thought he did tweak it a little bit to great effect. His team are outstanding, and that's Tottenham at their very best. That's Tottenham who can compete with the best in the league if they can bring some consistency to their game. And let's not forget, Rob, it's without their two best centre-backs.
I know.
No Romero, no Van de Ven. I mean, when you're looking at the team sheet and you're seeing Dragoshin and Davies as two centre-backs, I'm thinking, oh, dear, let's go get ugly.
Yeah, it was a brilliant clean sheet. Yeah. And I think against Man City, Rob, you talk about tweaking things. In some ways, Man City will kind of force you to be a little bit more cautious. Yeah. And they have a lot of possession generally. So I just thought Spurs looked happy defending in a deep block at times. And that's always been and always will be a very important part of teams' makeup. Yeah. And I remember we were played against the teams of Man United, Sir Alex Ferguson, Man United, that could absolutely go two banks of four, defend. Arsenal, the great Arsenal teams, and then they showed that ability to do that as well. I thought they did enjoy the nature of the game. I think the counter-attack in the first goal was magnificent crossing from, as you said, Kulusevski, who played wider, which left a spot in midfield. Brennan Davis, Brennan Johnson left on the bench. It's just that. I mean, I think I like Spurs. I like Ange. I like what they do, and whilst accepting they're not perfect yet, and accepting that maybe he's got to subtly change things just a smidgen, just to mitigate some of the things we've seen in terms of consistency. But I love a man with a plan. We're going to go, there's we'll get on to talk about United and the new man with the new plan at that football club. But I'm pleased for him. I'm pleased for the style that they play. I'm pleased for the Spurs fans that have had frustrations and they continue to feel like they're on the right path. Yeah. I think they are on the right path. I think it's grown really well. I think a lot of the stats and all that kind of stuff I don't take too much notice of is pointing in the right direction for Tottenham, Rob. They're going in the right way in a lot of those stats. And it's a landmark victory. Yeah. And well done him, well done Maddison, birthday boy. That's a way to come back when you've been questioned a little bit and left, sat on the bench. I thought it was a stunning result with important defenders out. Wow. It was that's some win for Ange and for Tottenham.
I don't think it gets much better. I know a couple of my Spurs friends were saying they've had a couple of North London derbies, but for me, I think that's the best Premier League result of all time. Go to the champions in that style and go and win 4-0 is incredible performance. So well done to Spurs. Not a good day for Manchester City. We'll see what comes next.
They'll come back.
Yeah, they certainly will come back. Let's move it to St Mary's, mate, because Liverpool had a chance to put an 8-point gap going against the Southampton team. Top playing bottom, it was all the worst attack versus best defence, and all those things were involved. as ever in this league, mate, nothing ever quite runs as you would thought. And from 2-1 down, Liverpool end up winning the game through two courtesy of a brace from Mo Salah. Obviously got the win. Was there anything that I thought Arne Slot was quite content. He felt that his team controlled most of the game, and the two opportunities Southampton get the goal, one's a penalty, one's a decent breakaway when they're out of balance. Anything to worry you from today? It's a 3-2 win, but any worries from what Southampton did?
Yeah, I think so. I think we all, now Liverpool's situation on top of the league table is like fantastic.
Yeah.
Tough to argue. So now we're starting to look at the details of why they might not stay there, right?
Yeah,
and we've seen super controlling football from Liverpool. I just thought of course, a win is a win, and we get that, and ugly wins and all that. I just thought the defence was surprisingly stretched on more occasions than I would have expected. And I think deep down, the manager on a slot is going to be he's not going to be happy about that. They were stretched by Southampton more than I expected. They conceded a goal off a counter-attack where they've been so good in general this season, Rob, attacking safely and having certain insurance measures in midfield. I thought they were caught out there. The controlling football that we really enjoyed 2 weeks ago, if I remember rightly, comfortable victory. Can't remember who it was against now, but they look really, 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 really good. It just wasn't quite as controlling, and maybe that's the nature of the league, and every game, whoever it is not easy, but it wasn't quite the same controlled football. I think Andrew Robertson is a concern, Rob, right? And I'll tell you what the penalty incident, right? And it is close to being on the line. It wasn't on the line. I had no problem with the way that it was called by the officials and all that. It was dealt with so close. All I would say this, Rob, right? And I'll tell a tiny little story, and I apologise if I've told it before. I remember turning 30. I remember going from my late 20s to 30, around that age, and in training, and I've probably told this story before, the speed of my reactions to the game and tackles was all of a sudden like, oh my God, it drops.
Yeah.
Like I slide in, I've fouled him. I used to win the ball. Quicker reactions. Yeah. Now, maybe it's kind of like, jumping on something here with Robertson, but reaching in like that, I just thought back of when I was a player, and all of a sudden I had to think much more. I had a series of those type of challenges, Rob, where I used to win that easily. Like the speed's off a little bit. Now I think Robertson, to be fair, has looked a little shakier than normal in Liverpool. I think also for his national team, Scotland. I've heard kind of reports that he isn't quite as so. Tsimikas has done a good job coming into the side. Yeah. That would be a slight concern, and it just wasn't Liverpool's best day. But it's a good sign when you can win when it's not your best day. So I think Mo Salah, by the way, just finally on him. Yeah. Like I thought he had a quiet game, but he could have scored 4 goals. He could have scored. He just was a little bit on the periphery. But of course, when Southampton give them opportunities and get caught high line and the goalkeeper comes off his line, Salah's going to lap it up and ended up having a good day and could have got 3 or 4. But so that's what I feel, mate. I just feel great.
The Robertson point is an interesting point because every professional footballer will tell you there's a point in their life when that starts to happen. And in your head, you think no one else is noticing, but you know.
Don't want to admit it.
You know that it's there. And listen, I'm not sure if Andy Robertson's quite there yet. I still think that there's a bit of legs in him. I would think that Liverpool will be starting to make a plan of what's the future look like, whether it's Tsimikas or another, and there's some good left-footed operators in and around the Premier League. For me, Robin, it was interesting. Beck asked me before the game about Liverpool, what's impressed and whatever, and I said, when I've watched back a bit of tape, when I've seen them play, there's been less drama about Liverpool. Yeah, I found this game a bit too dramatic. To play in the bottom team in the league, away from home, struggled one win all season. I thought, there was, as you say, there was too much action. There was too much around my box that didn't go my way today. Better teams than Southampton might have punished them. And that will be the slight concern. But listen, Manchester City have done it. The old Man United have done it. Chelsea have done it. Arsenal done it. Winning when you're not your best. Winning ugly. That's great. And when you got this fella Mo Salah, by the way, which is an incredible return, 10 goals, 6 assists in 12 games. I mean, like you say, this guy doesn't even have to be playing well.
No.
he can win you the game, and that's something that's to their huge advantage. So big week, massive week for Liverpool coming up, mate. Real Madrid in the Champions League, Manchester City next weekend in the Premier League. I mean, they win both those games and stay top of the Champions League table and top of the Premier League table by 11 points. Listen, we no longer can not talking. They would be title favourites, mate, wouldn't they? Based on that, a win next week against City, 11-point gap. Wouldn't that make them title favourites?
I think they probably are now, Rob. I think they probably are title favourites now, as they stand right now. If they take out Man City next weekend at Anfield, then that knocks out Man City really. With
so to that
you
point,
can't imagine.
Rob, to that point, are you? I'd like to get your take on, Arne Slot sort of playing it down, and maybe is the conversation seems to be maybe they're not ready or it's too soon. I mean, I did a little bit of research last night because I knew Bex would go down this route with Slot and Liverpool and whatever. 5 managers have won it in their first Premier League season. Wenger, Pellegrini, and then 3 Chelsea men: Conte, Ancelotti, and Jose Mourinho. All in their first full seasons in the Premier League won the title. I just hope that if this thing opens itself up for Liverpool and they do beat City and they get 11-point gap and it's there to win, go and do it. Don't be like, well, this was the year to settle in, get things sorted. I mean, if it's on to win it, Rob, be good enough, bold enough, and to go for it, because this team have won in the past. Wasn't that long this team won a title?
Rob, just on that, right? So the midweek, the Champions League game, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. There's one game in the upcoming 2 that's the most important game, and it's not Real Madrid.
No.
It's just not.
I'm not saying. Especially with the new way the Champions League set up as well. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm a big fan of the new format. You get off to a good start and you get yourself to the top of that league table. You got a lot of spots that you can finish in.
So on that basis, mate, what you're saying then, might you have an eye to the weekend ahead of Champions League?
It's really hard to say that, mate. And I'm sure Liverpool fans are like, this is Real Madrid at Anfield. I know. But there might be a little bit of cheeky rotation. You might rest a couple that maybe need a bit of a rest, or does he get sucked into having a humdinger with Real Madrid when he doesn't really need to? He doesn't really need to. Doesn't need to win this game. And of course, I understand the size of it and the structure, the stature of both football clubs.
Yeah.
But if he can get his players in tip top, and everyone's got European games this week in tip top,
it's a good shout
for next weekend. Geez, I'd be tempted to do that.
Yeah, it's a good shout. It's a good shout. And
we'll see.
Listen, great comfortable position for Liverpool to be in, to look at that situation where they can possibly rest or rotate a couple. It was interesting, McAllister didn't get minutes, did they, and Diaz, because they come late, so a couple of those could come into midfield. Is it one of those you could take Mo out, one of those, and give him half an hour, bring him on and save him for the weekend?
Maybe.
I don't know if Trent's going to be fit by the time we get to next weekend. But yeah, it's a really good point. Southampton, mate, I thought had a good go. We saw what they're about. Still at times, Rob, they take a little bit too much risk from me.
Yeah,
the first goal, they don't need to do that. Why are you throwing the ball on the edge of the box with a Liverpool team who are hungry to win it down? I just think find the balance, Russell Martin. I totally understand what you're doing. I totally understand you're ready to a philosophy of getting your team to play. But every now and then, mate, don't take that kind of risk.
Yeah. Listen, it's moments, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really admire somebody that sticks with principles and really tries to do it. And I know he's faced a ton of criticism for what he's trying to do here. And moments, it's just decisions, Rob, isn't it?
Yeah,
and you don't. Why would you throw the ball out to a midfield player who's got, I think, 4 or 5 in a circle around him? Yeah. Certain times, and they all do it. And we've watched the best. I've followed Barcelona for Pep's Barcelona for years, and Real Madrid in that La Liga, and they all try and play. There's times every single player or goalkeeper just takes a safer option, and because a lot of the Southampton stuff's not bad, and they did well to rattle Liverpool. They press them, they try and play, they try and have some possession, but the overplaying part, I think everybody, we can agree that there's certain moments when you just don't do it, and that does not have to to ruin the philosophy and make the players think differently about, well, we're not doing. No, but certain times I'm not going to do that, and I think that's something that they've got to learn from.
Just quickly on that one, mate, before we move on, and I know we've spent a bit of time here, but Tim and I had a bit of a interesting debate around that point. After I think we got to half time, we'd seen the first goal. And I said to Tim, if anybody's rolling that ball out to me, I'm getting it up the field at that time. And if my goalkeeper keeps doing it, I'm having a pop at my goalie and say, don't keep doing that because you're putting us in trouble. And Bex kind of came interjecting and went, but what if the manager's telling you to do that? And I'd say, I'm out there on the pitch. And sometimes you feel it, Bex. And she said, well, what if he drops you? And I said, if he drops me, he drops me. Because I'm trying to do what I think is best for the football club. And he has to believe in me to do that. And it was a bit of an interesting debate of like, well, do you do what the manager says even if you don't feel it's right? And I think sometimes as a player, Rob, you have to take responsibility out there for yourself.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, if the ball's rolled into me like that, I know what I'd feel afterwards. I'd be disappointed that I got caught on it.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing and that's our position, certainly my position, Rob, has been a pivot, six, basically, most of my career, is like, don't get sacked on the ball. Yeah. Like American football, you get sacked. Don't get sacked on the ball. Coaches said it all the time, and he got sacked on the ball, even though it was a terrible throw out. So, no, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Yeah. You're out there.
Yeah.
And, if it's rolled out,
just got to one touch
get rid
it
of
down
it.
the corner.
Get rid of it. Just one thing, Rob, before I move on.
Yeah.
I really appreciated somebody's performance here, and I'm gonna chuck in my underappreciated / one to watch player.
Go on.
It's Tyler Dibbling. I think I mentioned him before.
Yeah.
18-year-old player. I think he's come through their academy
ranks. Yeah.
What he gets the penalty, of course, from Robertson's challenge. He makes a key crossfield ball for the Fernandes goal as well. The other goal, he had impact in both. He looks silky. There's a couple of times he turned his player and powered away out of midfield. He's talented. He's quality. And at his age, I think he's got quite the future.
Yeah.
Tyler Dibbling can play wide.
Yeah.
He's a lefty, can play on the right, comes inside. He's talented and aware enough to play in a central position as well. And I know the fans love him at Southampton. Yeah. I know they wanted him in the team a little sooner. I know he's kind of having a breakout, but he was ready to go a bit earlier apparently. And I just think he's one for our watchers, listeners. Tyler Dibbling got a little bit of quality. He's one to watch at Southampton.
Good shout. I remember when we were in Chicago and speaking to the great Southampton legend Matt Letizia, and he mentioned him then, Rob, and said he's going to be special this one. He's good size as well, by the way. He looks about a 6-footer. It was again chatting off screen, and we do our stuff. And I said to Tim, he's the sort of player I'd probably go and say to Southampton, he is 40-45 million. Keep him for the next 18 months. Keep developing him as you are, and somebody, put my mark on him early now, because he looks a talent. He looks like a special talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, my friend, let's move it on to, I think, one of the most watched games of the weekend. Everybody was looking at Portman Road, not necessarily to see an Ipswich Town and Kieran McKenna, who's done a really good job at the football club, but Ruben Amorim, his first game in charge of Manchester United. Who was he going to... Well, what system was he going to play? Who was going to be where?
We knew the system.
What were we going to see different? Tell me what you thought of the first Amorim appearance, selection, what you liked, where there's work to be done. What do you think he'll take away from a 1-1 draw at Portman Road?
Oh boy, Rob, I could talk. This is the sort of thing I love, right? I love this sort of thing where a manager goes in with a new philosophy, same group of players. Eric Ten Hag struggled. What are you trying to do? There's no pattern. And all of a sudden, that's all changed because there's no question that there's an obvious structure and a shape to the team. Yeah. And it was probably exactly how I expect it to be, Rob. There's players that are clunky. We're in a 3. We got the wing backs, and before we get to who played where. It's going to take time. But I'm okay, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it, to see it develop, to see different players come in. It's going to evolve every single half of the game, as we saw the changes with Eriksen and Casemiro. No, that ain't going to work in the middle of the park. They're a little exposed in there, Rob, with that system. The wing backs are kind of wide. The two middle guys
through, didn't they?
They got played through a lot.
Yeah.
Couldn't be compact. Yeah. They couldn't get anything going. They couldn't build out of the back. The first 1 or 2 passes weren't happening. they couldn't get through. So the front players had very little joy. The goal comes from a quick counter break. Amad Diallo, I just love him.
Yeah.
I just love him. And how about him for a right wing back with that little left foot coming inside?
I thought he was the find today, wasn't he? I thought he was the find.
Yeah. The front three, it's going to evolve. Rashford gets his goal, fair play, sprint into the box, finishes it really well. It's a good start for him as a number 9. Bruno starts in the higher position, Rob, goes back into midfield with Ugarte because they couldn't play out, and that helped him in the second half. I just think it was exactly, and I know there's some disappointment not winning and it not being silky, but that's what's needed. That's what's going to happen. That's absolutely as expected with 2 days of training. And I see, the show today, Rob, you run some really good clips of set pieces, and he's working on the team almost the minutes before the game kicks off. So he knows he's got a ton of work to do. I'm just fascinated by who's going to excel, who's going to finish in the spots. I'll tell you what we might see, Rob, based on today a little bit, and things will change a lot. We might see Bruno playing in as a number 6. We might see them.
Yeah, building up.
And you might see Mason Mount. Mason Mount might be the higher Bruno. And you're probably still going to play with a Garnacho or a winger type as the other 2 behind the central player. Who's going to be the left back? I thought, before I let you come back in, Rob, Luke Shaw looked $1 million at left side centre-back. Absolutely perfect for Luke Shaw to play that left side centre-back. He'll edge forward. He's good on the ball. The left wing back is not ideal at the moment with Dallo. But I thought it was a fascinating game, and this sort of thing I love to watch grow. The manager is saying the things that make sense. It's going to take time. It was a fascinating game, mate, and I enjoyed it. And by the way, also, it wasn't just about Man United. I thought Ipswich Town were blimmin' great value, great club, great support, some lovely football, some technicality. There's very little on the tactical side that he's doing differently, Rob. It's a 4-2-3-1. Always has been, probably always will be. I really enjoyed it, mate. What did you make?
So similarly, I think, I don't know, when you go on social media, and I think some people, some Man United fans, or maybe just fans generally, we're expecting like the magic wand, Rob. We change the system. I'll put some people in. Man United are going to be brilliant. Unfortunately, that isn't how it happens. And so, a bit like you, I kind of got what I thought. There were bits of structure that I thought looked better. I thought there was a willingness to try and get back behind the ball, whether they did or didn't. I thought the 2 midfield players, as you say, got torn apart. There was a bit of Eric Ten Hag in there. How Ipswich played through them, got into those midfield spots. That'll be something he'll want to address. I thought Amorim came out with a couple of really salient points after the match, where he talked about everybody keeping to the system and understanding what they're doing, and at times staying on the right track is going to be more as important as the results. And he said, if we're going to do this long term, we have to stay with what we're doing. And I thought that was really important. Not just about a win, it's about making sure we've got the building blocks to move this forward. And then the point that I brought up to Bex, and it was echoed when Amorim said, I just thought there was a bit of, in the player's head, there was a lot of thought going on instead of natural play. I thought Garnacho particularly, that happened. He got in 2 or 3 great positions, and it was almost like he was thinking about, what does a new coach want me to do, rather than doing what he would naturally do. And so there's this turnover when a new manager comes in, because you want to do what the gaffer says, because that keeps you in the team. But actually, part of why you're in the team is because you do certain things really well. So continue to do those. So I just think there's a balance of that, Rob, that's going to be important, that will help the team. But like you, liked where it looks like we're going. I think we've got 6 months with this manager of experimentation. Minimum 6 months. Just to give himself a view and an understanding of what he's got, what he might need, and what or who needs changing. But
I still think, Rob, it's going to improve. I don't think it's 6 months.
I'm not saying. I still think he'll want improvement. But I think he'll give the period. I mean, we saw Eriksen and Casemiro, and that doesn't look like it's worked. Now, I'm not saying neither of them will play again. What I'm saying is, over a period of 6 months, I think he'll work to a position where one, or if not both of them, will not be in that position.
The possession thing's interesting, Rob, because we know one of his keys is for the team to keep the ball more.
Got to keep the ball,
for various reasons. And that's where they struggled first half to keep the ball. Now, second half, when they had more possession, maybe they didn't look like
they had one shot on target with all that possession, which There's another area
but that's still better. He wants them to possess, so they can build up the play. They can move the whole team into the attacking part, and then when it's given away, that's where they want to do their pressing. When they get caught getting bogged down trying to play out from the back, that's the last thing that he wants. That's what we saw. We knew it was a big kind of rebuild in everything. You're reprogramming. It's almost like Man United learning to walk again, Rob, in terms of what this guy wants and going from nothing, going from nowhere to somewhere. And that's what we're going to see over a period of time. Before we move on, I want to Ipswich a little bit more, Rob. We've got to shout out the goalkeeper. We've got to shout out the goalkeeper, Andre Onana. A guy that was shaky at the start, came out with some huge saves, confident, strong, no errors with his feet, made that big save with his arms early on from Liam Delap, where it's like, well, you got to score there. So it was a struggle, the outfield, no struggle in goal, and that's got to be really good to know from the manager that the guy in goal, there's no issues.
Yeah. I'm just going to go as well, Robert. Like you say, I think you've mentioned it, but Kieran McKenna and needs a little mention. Was not deemed good enough for Manchester United under Ollie. Was talked about as being a possible suitor to the job this time around. What he's done, how he's working, as you say, his team is set up. And I tell you what, there was a young man on his team, Amari Hutchinson, mate, who was as good as anybody on the field today. Caused problems with his movements, sucking centre-backs out of position, causing problems to the midfield players. Talented, lovely first touch on the ball, gets his goal courtesy of a flick off Mazraoui, I think. But I just thought he was close to my underappreciated performer of the week this week. I know all the spotlight was on Amorim and Manchester United and that, but I tell you, Hutchinson came through the academy. I think started at Arsenal and he's at Chelsea's academy. He's a decent little player and one that could grow. When you look at Delap and I like the left back, Leif Davies, centre backs. They've got some good parts Ipswich to that team.
I just want to, so I want to follow up on Liam Delap, Rob, because we had a conversation in the studio a few weeks ago, and Rebecca sort of talked about, is a big club going to come for Liam Delap in January, because he started off scoring 6 goals in 10 or whatever it was. And I'm like, possible, but, maybe a little bit. I thought he was good today, Rob. I think he's improving game by game. And I know this goal scoring's been really good, but some of the turns, some of the strength, some of the, I just thought he was a little. Well, I guess you need more evidence, but I just liking even more what I'm seeing with Liam Delap, and I think that's somebody, certainly to watch. I know the goal's going to grab the headlines, Rob, but we know it's more than that. If you're going to be a top player, it's more than that. And I thought his availability for the ball, his technicality on the ball, some physicality at times, I just thought he was excellent. And my last shout out in this game, Rob, is for a bit of an old timer, Sam Morsy.
Captain, midfield player.
Old geezer. He's
old as us, isn't he? He was the same class at me at school, I think.
I'll tell you what, mate. He buzzes around midfield. He was at this football club in League One a few seasons ago. He's been there all the way through. And I know they've signed other players in the midfield, and Phillips and everybody else has come into the club. But Sam Morsy, if you looked at him, just buzzing around, always on the ball, that's a good player. He's a good player in Division 1 as a central midfield guy, and he can absolutely be a good player in the Premier League. Is he gonna go box to box and score a ton of goals? No. But I just thought Sam Morsy, for being there for a long period of time, he had a really good game today. Hardly gave the ball away, made a few tackles in key spots. Just wanted to shout out to one of the old guys.
Yeah, I think he was player of the season last year in the Championship.
What a player.
Good captain. Yes, good shout. Honours even in the game at Portman Road. Ipswich won, Manchester United won. More work for Amorim to do. The only slight problem, Rob, I think that every 2 or 3 days now they're going to have games, so there ain't going to be a lot of time on the pitch. Video work and other work and conversations. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun watch to see how Amorim goes, because I think in terms of how he presents himself, Rob, he's immaculate. He's spot on. And now we're going to see what work he puts into his team. Let's go to Leicester City facing Chelsea. It was Enzo Maresca going back to the team that he bought up as from the Championship and then leaves to go to Chelsea. His Chelsea team come and get a 2-1 victory at Leicester City, which has broken the news that we heard today while we're on air, that Steve Cooper, the Leicester coach, has been sacked after 12 games in charge, 10 points, 2 points above the relegation. So a bit of a shock there. I mean, I know things weren't great at Leicester, and whether the fans are totally taken to him. Not sure that being an ex-Forest man helps, but whether that's a bit premature or not, we'll have to wait and see. Should we talk about the game first and then talk about Cooper?
Yeah, we can do both, Rob, can't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it was always a bit of an awkward appointment. I think when you go from a club and a team that played really attractive football last year, and the manager, of course, and now in the other side of the field in this game, Enzo Maresca, and you go for somebody that's a little bit more cautious, going into the Premier League, it's not easy. Did I expect him to get a little bit more time? I did. But I always do. It seems like I always seem to want to manage it. Want it to be really make sure it's the right decision. But they might have somebody lined up. I know that you guys on the air talked about David Moyes or I'm not sure Graham Potter's going. I'm not sure he's going to want to go in there. Is he going to want to go in there?
Yeah, Ruud van Nistelrooy's got mentioned.
Oh God,
interesting one.
Yeah, there'll be a few out there.
Yeah.
But no, I think. Yeah, it was just a little awkward because Chelsea, Rob, are so good tactically. They're so good tactically, and there was another wrinkle today. And I know that I sometimes can get a little bit in the weeds with this stuff.
Yeah.
But we've seen him do it so many different ways in midfield. The way he uses fullbacks. Now there was no Malo Gusto.
No Reece James. Out. So Fofana was a right-sided one, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it was Cucurella did something different.
Yeah,
so Cucurella played. So Cucurella, you might expect him to play in midfield a little bit or in the number 8. He played wide left.
Yeah.
He played wide left, and Felix come into a central. So you had like this midfield diamond, Rob. By the way, it was kind of a diamond in there with Cole, kind of a free number 10, right? Cole Palmer, and then you had Felix coming in the left side of the diamond. Enzo Fernandez, by the way, on the right side of the diamond, and then Caicedo at the bottom of it. And you got Cucurella playing left wide side, left, and Madueke playing wide right.
On the right, yeah.
So how? I mean, again, he finds his way to fill the spots in the attacking areas. 2 widies and at least a couple in the number 10 position, and then a striker in the usual guy, Nicholas Jackson. So if he keeps making these little wrinkles, it's got to be difficult, Rob, to set your team up to say, well, Gusto's going to go in there, or Caicedo's going to play. I just think
it's
he's
interesting,
a very
because when he has Neto's pacier wider, as we saw, can play either side.
Yeah, he'll stay wide and they'll do something else.
It looks like Felix, he's going to allow him to drift in field, and he's got lovely, clever feet, hasn't he? There were moments where he's really clever. Thought he was more effective in the game than Cole Palmer, actually, in this game.
He was.
He's smart, isn't he, Maresca? Yeah, he's a smart, bright, forward-thinking coach that gives you problems.
Yeah, and the squad's good, mate, isn't it? The players that they had missing defensively, still no problem. It's a very strong
Enzo
squad.
A mention as well. Enzo Fernandez a mention, Rob, because found his way out of the team through Lavia, and he talked about why Lavia and Caicedo was a better fit, more athletic, get across the pitch, and it was almost like a little message to Enzo Fernandez, who's obviously buckled down, who's got back to form, scores a good goal, gets the second goal, captains the team. I thought was excellent during the game. His work off the ball, his diligence. I kind of like what Maresca's done with him, and I like the reaction that I've got from Enzo Fernandez as well. And I think we're going to see a bit of that that might be a fit for certain games or certain situations, and then maybe Lavia will come in on other days. Yeah,
so I'm a bit worried about it, Rob. And first off, I'll take the point. Goal, good for him.
Yeah.
Back in his side, scores a goal, follows in nicely. He's kind of on the right side of that midfielder they talked about. I as a World Cup winner and a highly regarded and a very, very expensive midfield player, I don't think he's going to be happy being in one game, out the next. There's certain players in this team that are really, really important, are going to be in most weeks. Caicedo's certainly one of them. The striker's another one. There's Cole Palmer, Colwill. There's a few. It doesn't look like at the moment. Well, it's not. He's not one of those guys. No. I just wonder, Rob, if he can't play everybody, right? And this is always going to be. I think by the way, I would do it exactly the same if I was a manager, because I like Enzo's quality in certain situations, so I would use him in a game against Leicester. Yeah. I don't need that Lavia and Caicedo kind of double pivot protection, and I like the diamond and stuff. So, but is Enzo, Rob, is he going to be happy? Playing in certain games. I think
the only thing that keeps Enzo in the team is top performances, goals, and assists. So
and working,
the working off the ball. There's no It's like there's no passengers in this team. He's not going to allow a passenger, and if he gets that added to the ability that is undoubtedly there, then he plays. And I think as a player, Rob, you always accept that. If you're doing okay and you're in the team, you want to stay in the team. And if you're not doing okay, you understand in that situation where somebody else might come in and get the spot.
There's only one thing that Enzo Fernandez has to do, Rob, and it seems very simple. And to be fair, I was good at it. Just work your nuts off.
Yeah.
Work really hard and do your defensive diligence, track your runners, sniff out danger, because his football is brilliant, like miles better than Lavia. If he just had a little bit of that side of the game, he's in all the time.
Yeah.
But for some reason, maybe Maresca can get it out of him. He hasn't shown that desire to help and be a two-way player. No. And you just said it. I think he's a smart coach and he doesn't want any kind of luxuries that could cause spaces in midfield where good teams can go in there and punish them, and he's not having it. And that's why he's been out the side. I just hope that Enzo Fernandez finds a way to dig in a little bit more, else he's going to be in and out for me.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
We'll see.
A little mention to Nicholas Jackson as well, Rob. Just, he was a bit of a figure of fun at one point, and all of a sudden, 7 Premier League goals, a beautiful goal how he took away from Coley, and then a lovely flick on the outside of his foot. That's what confidence does, and fair play to him. 7 goals for him already in the Premier League. Good win for Chelsea away from home. And it was interesting, Rob, because I'd written down my notes about this game at Chelsea, and I thought, okay, it's another little learning about Chelsea. You're away from home. It's not a glamour game. You've just had the international break. There's a few reasons why Chelsea weren't at it today, but they got the job done, and that's what I want to see from this. I want to keep seeing them go through different challenges and how they can come out of it. And there's a spirit getting to these young players. It's a young group of players who look like they're starting to enjoy each other's company and enjoying playing together. And that's a very powerful thing if you can keep that going.
Just one last word, Rob, and absolutely right. And I think it's again, I'm loving this season because there's so much that's new. Yeah. And I love it. I love different coaches, different philosophies, and how they're affecting the team. Chelsea are third. Yeah. Chelsea are third place in the Premier League right now. The only little thing, and again, this is expected, and it's stuff that me and you noticed a little bit. Yeah. The last kind of 5 or 10 minutes, and they're having a bit of a panic up towards the end to try and secure the 3 points.
Could have had a penalty against. Could have had 2 penalties. Yeah.
So killing the game with the ball possession, something that I'm sure the manager would love to see a little bit more. But that's nitpicking. Yeah. And it's remarkable that we're at this stage and negatives are little nitpicks, really. I think that it's a fascinating project. And again, I'll say it one more time, that the 2 sporting directors at the football club, fair play. Ballsy moves, what they did with the philosophy of the signings, and Mauricio Pochettino, of course, was finding the right way, and they still said to the owners, here's a little dossier, here's like why we should change a manager. And so far so good. Well done. Top class.
Yeah, they lost a manager, and someone they're looking to find a manager now. Leicester City, obviously Steve Cooper is gone. We'll have to wait and see over the next coming days. I get the sense, Rob, there must be somebody pretty lined up. I wouldn't think that this will stay too long.
Yeah, they can't mess around now, mate.
No, they need to get somebody in and get somebody where they've got 28 games to save to make
season.
Sure that Leicester City stay up. All right, my friend, let's go through a few other results. From the 10 o'clock window, I watched Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and, a Forest team that going in good form. It was an Arsenal team that rested or didn't play a few players. Havertz didn't play, Rice didn't play, Partey didn't play, Martinelli didn't start, certainly, the game. And a little bit of rotation, a little bit of freshening up, a little bit of a challenge to Arsenal. I thought Arsenal were excellent. Yeah. I thought dominated the game. I thought the right-hand side of the pitch with Saka,
Timber
and Odegaard as a trio. They're exciting. I thought it was one of the best controlled performances I've seen from Arsenal. It was almost like that's the Arsenal that we're used to seeing. Grooved, controlled, threat. Yeah. Great goal from Saka. Loved that Wanyeri comes on, the kid, late on and gets the goal, first Premier League goal. I just felt it was a good weekend, a good result for Arsenal. And the clean sheet, Rob, getting back to clean sheets, getting back to defending, important for this team, because that was what was a big part of made them successful last season.
Normal service has been resumed at Arsenal, and I think the Arsenal fans will take a deep breath and be relieved at that. Martin Odegaard, mate, is got to be one of the best midfield players in the Premier League. The way that he affects their football is incredible. It's amazing, Rob. The whole team plays different when he's in the side, predominantly on the right side because that's where he plays. He plays the right side of midfield. And Timber, Odegaard, and him, by the way, if you had that three on that side, I expect the ball to go down that side all the time. I felt a little bit sorry for the other side because the ball went down the right all the time. But the way that's what the Arsenal was when we went a couple of seasons ago, Rob. We saw them at the stadium firsthand. I remember thinking, wow, this Arsenal side, that's the football, that's the intricacy, that's the dynamic nature of their football. Really, really good. I don't know why, but I always seem to want to pick out something that worries me a little bit. And Jesus up front. Yeah. And we might differ here. Yeah. I look at him and I feel like he does his little bit, but he looks down to me, and he looks. And again, maybe I'm nitpicking, and it's a great Arsenal performance, absolutely 100%. But he doesn't look like he feels he's an important part of the team, as if he's in the side just to give others a rest. He's struggling to be effective. He's not. Now, I guess, Rob, is this something that can change, or is he dejected, feeling that I'm just not first choice again at another big club?
I hear you. I mean, I think I made a point a few weeks ago where I just said I didn't feel his contribution was what it should be for a player of his calibre and quality. When he first came in at Arsenal, he was a real threat, and he was working really hard. Something doesn't quite seem right. I don't think he's helped by Rob. I think he's one of those players who carries a frown even when he's happy. His eyebrows are always slightly furrowed, aren't they? But I know what you mean in terms of his football. And
body language is a bit.
Yeah, just whether the body language. He desperately needs a couple of goals. I kind of feel like if he's one of those, if he could get a couple of goals and get his confidence up, he's an asset to Arsenal in a long season with lots of different competitions. But I've been a little bit disappointed in him, I have to say. I thought he would be bringing more to the table than he is at the moment, and playing without Havertz gives them a different way of playing, which they used to do before. The big
it's a chance for him, Rob. It's a chance for him, isn't it? It's a chance for him
to look, but it doesn't look like he's making the most of those chances. So, that'll be the slight worry. But like Wanyeri, goes the other way. Then a young kid, he's 17 years of age.
What a player, mate! What a player!
And Mikel Arteta says we just need to be careful with him. Make sure we put all the right building blocks in place to get this guy where he could end up to be a very top Premier League star.
Super exciting. 17 years of age. Absolutely super exciting for him. And also you're in Timber playing at right back. What a good. I think we all knew it was a good signing. Can play midfield. Can play left back. I think he's more technical. He's a little different to Ben White, who's going to be out sadly now. He's had knee surgery, which is again the fullback. They've had awful luck with fullback injuries at the Arsenal Football Club. But Timber, I thought he was excellent as well. Just a quick line on Forest, Rob. I know they put Chris Wood on the bench. International kind of travel, etc., etc. They didn't have any answers, mate. They had no answers, did they? Arsenal was so slick. They played around them. It was just a difficult day for Forest. I thought they improved a little bit second half. Chris Wood came on. They got a little bit more pressure on Arsenal. But they really had no answers for Arsenal in that first half.
It was a dominant Arsenal day, a real good day for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Team.
Yeah.
Let's move to Fulham. Fulham 1, Wolves 4, which went slightly against Fulham. Fulham have been going well of late, and Iwobi puts them 1-0 up. But then I think you might have had him as underappreciated. Was it?
Yeah, that's last time. Yeah, good player. Yeah,
couple of great goals. Gomez, and then Guedes gets a late goal to maybe slightly flatter Wolves.
It's a great result, by the way, Rob.
Great result. And takes a little bit of pressure off Gary O'Neill because he's been all this talking. Back-to-back wins now for him. So, pleased for him. Obviously, for Fulham, a little disappointing at home. Villa 2, Palace 2, mate. Crystal Palace still can't quite seem to get the job done. A little bit of a worry for Palace to be down there where they are. I know Eze's, I think, training at the moment, not quite fit enough to be part of matchday squad. So we're probably going to see him back into things over the next couple of weeks. But any worries for Oliver Glasner? This kind of poor runs continuing, Rob. I kind of felt like they were starting to get out of it by now.
Yeah, but it's a difficult game, isn't it? Villa away is a difficult game for Crystal Palace. Yeah, for sure.
But you're 2-1 up, aren't you? You get yourself 2-1. The young kid Devaney, is it?
He scores, Yeah, first goal, wasn't it? Yeah. I think we'll continue to be concerned about Crystal Palace. Eze's the star player. I still think there's 3 worse teams than Crystal Palace, Rob.
For sure.
In the bottom areas. I think equally you could say about Villa. I read a really big, long piece about Unai Emery and this international break where he normally goes away.
Yeah.
I think he's the hardest working manager that could ever be. Like given the stuff that we hear about him,
Football's his life.
It's like he's in 12-hour day plus, like in the week. Like so he's continuing to work really hard to get the team back on track. So it's kind of a blip for Villa, right?
Yeah.
And they've come such a long way. And we knew this season with the extra competitions, Champions League again this week. But we all know he's a great manager. Yeah. We know there's some really good players there. He'll find it. He'll get him back on track. It's just it's an annoying blip. Yeah, it's just a little bit of annoying. You know, they want to be closer to the top four right now, Rob. And I think we disagreed on how they might do this season. Yeah. But I think he'll get him back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to South Coast for Bournemouth versus Brighton. Two great footballing teams. Good game to watch. Pedro gets Brighton ahead with the first goal. Matoma gets the second. Brooks gets something late for Bournemouth in the end, not enough. Balaba getting sent off was obviously a big disappointment from Brighton's point of view. But Brighton is another team, a little bit like Chelsea, Rob, just continue to, in some respects, at this stage, be like punching above their weight.
Yeah, superb. Great story. I mean, the two clubs are a great story, aren't they? Bournemouth and Brentford, the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Bournemouth and Brighton. The way that the clubs have been built. We know the situation with the ownership of Brighton and how they do things. Yeah. But just amazing. And Brighton, I didn't see a ton of this game. There's that window again, but the story is amazing, and some of the players they bring through, and some of them's on the bench, by the way, as well. Brighton have got a lot of young players on the bench that can come and do great things. That's an amazing story, and it's again we spoke to Brighton, didn't we? CEO, Paul Barber, didn't we? And explaining how they do things there, and it continues to be an amazing story. Yeah. And that, again, is a super impressive result with a man sent off later on. Brilliant. Brighton are doing remarkably well.
What's great about these two teams as well, Rob, is they've kind of earned a respect now across the league. You don't play Bournemouth without being well prepared. Don't come up against Brighton if you haven't done your work, because these two teams will find you out. In the past, these teams have kind of had to sit back and hit counter-attack and not have as much
different
possession.
Now. They're established now, Robin.
Yeah.
They're established.
Completely different. Yeah. And to that point, mate, I'm going to go to my underappreciated performer of the week. And he's a forward for Brighton, João Pedro. He's 23 years of age, Brazilian, I think full international now. Got the first goal. And if you get a chance again to look at the first goal, watch the move of the first goal for Brighton. It was outstanding. He ends up scoring after a shot comes back off the keeper. But the build-up was incredible. And then the second goal is almost like in a number 10 position, mate. Almost, Bobby Firmino-like, looking one way, passes the ball into Matoma. Matoma goes and gets the second goal. This young man is 23 years of age, can play any of the four positions, three underneath a main striker or as the main striker. Yep. If he was at a Big Six club and getting more media attention, we'd all be talking about him. He's a star in the making. Brighton will want to hold on to him, but we know that Brighton at times will sell. And if they do sell, it's going to be big money. It's going to be $60-70+ million for a young guy who's got all the tools you'd want in the box.
Yeah, he's one of a few, actually, Rob. When we talk about Brighton, we say who's the next big one to go. We've talked about Carlos Balaba, the midfield player that got sent off in this game, but is a talented player. There's many others. And Cisse, remember, last year had a breakout season. There's many others at the club. And João Pedro, I'm surprised we've not had him before, underappreciated, because I think it's pretty obvious that he is going to be one off, if not the next guy to go. It's the way that Brighton do things. I mean, full marks. He was there
at Watford, wasn't he? There was other people. Everybody can look at him.
Everybody can look at him. I know. It just shows you just by your data and imagining what that player's going to be like in your system, your environment. It's going to make these players. There's so many over the years have come through there, and he's another one. And I think it's a good shout, mate. And he's going places, absolutely going places. Every weekend, Rob, he's assisting or he's scoring. He makes an impact, and he's been out injured for a while before the last couple of weeks.
He's only played at 6 Premier League appearances. He's got 4 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah, amazing. Very good.
One other game, Brentford have scored 22 goals, conceded 22 goals, so they guarantee you goals till they go to Goodison Park and then we get a 0-0, mate. Not greatest of games. Christian Norgard got sent off. A bit of a nasty challenge. I'm not sure detrimental, but it was
Yeah,
reckless.
it was high.
On Jordan Pickford, got straight red. Don't think you got much argument on that. It was a case second half whether Everton could find a way to find the back of the net. I think Mikolenko bangs one over the top. Beto has a decent header in the 6-yard box. Should have done better, but in the end, a point apiece for both those teams. So listen, mate, cool. More drama than we needed in the Premier League again.
Amazing, isn't it? Love it.
12
Love
more
it.
games. 12 games gone. 12 dramatic games played in the Premier League. Manchester City concede 4 and lose their 5th game in a row. Salah saves slot with a brace against Southampton as the Reds go 8 points clear at the top of the table. We'll be back next weekend with a couple of crackers after Thanksgiving when West Ham face Arsenal in what I'm calling the Declan Rice Derby. That's on Saturday, November the 30th. Then the big one, the important one, with title implications. Liverpool host Manchester City on Sunday, December the 1st. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the USA Network. Don't forget that. Get it in your diaries. But for now, I'm Earl. He's Musty. Together with the two Robbies, thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.